Before we start this episode, we'd like to talk about an event that sort of rocked the South Australian football world, the passing of Steve Maxwell, Socceroo number 339. And just thought we'd all have a quick chat to talk about him and our own experiences with him. So, Alessio, we'll go with you first. You had experiences with him in coaching.
Yeah, so I was at Sturt for a couple of seasons, and that was, I think, the first few seasons where he joined some of the coaching staff at Sturt. So he was mainly with the first team, but I think he was working with some of the women's sides as well. And he was a striker coach. So on Monday nights before they had Carina Reserve, he would often lead the shooting drills with some of the players. And I'm sure that helped him well in their promotion and their positive 2021 season as well. And even when I was come back to the club last year for half of the season, he was there, took some trainings as well. And he's, such a bubbly character and always smiling and laughing. And he was someone who always took things lightly. And it's such a surprise to see someone of that nature, even around the club. And he was never too boastful about his achievements as well. And it was just, such a fantastic name to have around. And it's sad passing.
Yeah, look, I met Maxie just only a few times. Unfortunately, I would have loved to have met him and got to talk football with him a lot more than what I did, to be honest. But you ask anyone around the football community in SA, and I don't think anyone has a bad word to say about the man that he was. He was an absolute local legend. He was involved with different clubs throughout his path, his journey in football, and every club, like I said, they've all posted something on social media about how he impacted their club, and again, it was all just massively positive. Port, Pirates, Adelaide City, Sturt, Adelaide Hills, and when you've got someone like that leaves a legacy like he did, you kind of go, wow, he had a big influence, not just on the top league here, but also the juniors and the kids that he was involved with as well. I remember seeing something from a couple of guys that I used to play state team with, and I'm talking, we're going back to when I was 12 to 15 years old, and they're posting about how amazing he was as a coach. So he's made a massive impact, left an amazing legacy, and it truly is a sad day for SA football with him passing.
Yeah, you guys have covered it very well and very respectfully there. So, big shock for me too. I hadn't seen Maxie, as they call him, for a number of years, but I had played a couple of games against him when I was a lot younger, or when we were both a lot younger. But yeah, the tributes I think that we've seen on social media have really summed it up well. Craig Leith at the Hawks had said, "Your passion and love for the game was infectious. Your influence at the Hawks will never be forgotten, both on and off the park. I'll miss the Friday afternoon banter, the crossbar challenges, your infectious laugh, and most of all, your friendship." So I think those words probably sum it up very well. The last time I'd seen him play competitively was a game at the Carina Reserve, where Sturt now play, but that's where Hawks were based in the late 90s and early 2000s. And I remember him hitting a shot from, he must have been 40 yards out, and I kid you not, that net would still be bulging if it was there today. He absolutely belted it, and fine leader. Put so much into the game after his playing career had finished, and will be sorely missed. So very sad news.
Thank you for all that, guys, and of course, everyone across the South Australian football community and here at the podcast send our condolences to Steve's family. Hello and welcome back to episode 6 of the One Game at a Time podcast. I am one of your hosts, Seb O'Neill, joined by Alessio Carocci. Alessio, how are you doing on this fine Wednesday?
Yep, doing very good. Hopefully this heat wave's just about to finish and we get back to some cooler weather. It's very muggy all the time in this study for me, so I'm just hoping that it gets cooler soon.
Also joined by Mark Talbot. Mark, how are you doing?
I'm well, and I'm right there with Alessio on this hot weather. Not a fan. Let's get rid of it and let's get back to some real football weather.
David Grant, you must be loving this weather being from Scotland.
Absolutely. It's the first time I I've been here
Seen
for
the sun?
20 I've been here for 30 years. What are we talking about? No, I don't mind a little bit of hot weather as long as it doesn't stay too long. So, and I think it's probably due to pass. So, yeah, so it's been fine with me. Didn't do much, but then at least the wife doesn't get on at me. I've got an excuse, haven't I? Can't go out, can't do anything in the garden, it's too hot. Can't walk the dog, it's too hot. Can't go digging holes, it's too hot.
Well, after that, we'll go on to our picks of the week. I'll go first. We had some South Australians scoring in the second and third divisions of England. Cassini Yengi scoring a brace, one from the penalty spot, Panenka, in fact, as well, to get a 2-1 win for Portsmouth over Burton Albion, which still gets them top of the table of League One. And Riley McGree scoring in 70 minutes against his old side, Birmingham. It's great to see these two players doing brilliantly, who were playing in the NPL not long ago either.
Yeah, I was watching I saw the highlights of that penalty this morning, and it was quite funny. I was on X, which, as we will probably know now, is formerly Twitter, and that's annoying to have to say. But it was funny. The tweet I saw was, it's League One. He has no right. And then you just watch the video and you're like, yeah, I can understand that. But yeah, look, courageous to do that, that's for sure. But it paid off, and it's great to see the lads that are doing well over there in the second and third division. They're no mugs. It's great to be able to say we've got Aussies playing at that level.
We'll just add as well, Tete Gengi also scored against Celtic in the Scottish Cup quarter or semi-final against Celtic as well, which I thought, again, another great achievement to be scoring against a club of that side. And I think what at the time was an equaliser.
Yeah, I think that game finished 4-2 to Celtic in the end, but I think he also picked up Player of the Month for Livingston. So he's doing well there in Scotland, and the Yengi parents must be very proud. Both their boys doing well.
Just wonder how he's going with the language barrier. No, we've raved about these guys for, well, episode 6 we're on now. I think we've probably raved about them in pretty much every episode. But yeah, I mean, certainly proving that he could do it. And I think when we talked a few weeks ago about players who are playing in Scotland, it's a stepping stone to the English Premier League. League One and League One and Championship in England are stepping stones to the Premier League as well. And so surely someone's got to be noticing this. It's no mean feat to score against Celtic. So yeah, someone will be taking notes. It'll be interesting to see what happens to them next year if they continue this form.
I think I remember putting out a tweet saying that I think Riley McGree will be our next Premier League player. Do you guys agree as well?
Hard to say, isn't it? I mean, Middlesbrough won't be going up this year, I wouldn't think, but it's very tight in that Championship for me. I don't have the table in front of me. There are only a few points there.
As a Swansea fan, it's very tight.
Yeah.
It's too tight.
So, but I mean, he's in the shop window, I suppose, isn't he? And that's, if Premier League clubs are looking to recruit, then that's obviously where they'll be. You would imagine first looking is the likes of the Championship, League One, and the Scottish Premier League as well. So, will he play in the Premier League? I don't know. I suppose it depends on whether he's got something that a club in the Premier League is looking for at that time.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you. It depends on what clubs are looking for, because they've got scouts everywhere, so they're certainly keeping an eye on players, that's for sure. But who knows at this stage? That's why I'm not in the coaching department or the scouting arena, that's for sure.
Alessio, we'll go on to you. There are some games in particular that you want to talk about.
Yeah, a few in the state leagues, and there was obviously one in the NPL that David and I were at, and it was probably not the best viewing of games. Well, there for the second half at least, but yeah, it was not the greatest game to view. We could tell both teams, the way they played. Adelaide Olympic were more on the counter attack, while Raiders taking a long time to build up, and ultimately it was an Olympico that broke the deadlock, and that was it for the whole game. There was a red card later in the game as well for some dangerous challenges, but other than that, that was a massive surprise and one of many on that Friday night for the NPL.
You going to talk us through the goal?
Oh yeah, well, we were talking about it in the commentary booth, and I let David know before the game that my sources told me that this was going to be his senior debut. Never been on the bench before, not even been on the bench and not come on. He just came straight into the squad this week, and he's been around the reserves for a while. He's a teammate of mine as well, and they had some injuries in the previous game, and he took his opportunity, and he was straight on set pieces as well, as David mentioned, if you could see in the highlights as well. So it was very unbelievable to see someone on their debut score such a goal and ultimately be the match winner. And yeah, hopefully that one will be the goal of the week as well.
And the games in the State League, you spoke about the Snake Derby, which also occurred.
Yeah, and there was some snakes underneath the grass as well for the Vipers team in particular. It was viewing from the live stream that I saw a couple of arguments after a goal, an equaliser just before half time, two teammates fighting with each other. And as the half-time whistle blew as well, it didn't look like they were stopping anytime soon. They both remained on the park for the start of the second half, so obviously the coach straightened things out. But after seeing some people over the weekend from the Vipers team, they were letting me know that it was quite a dangerous game that both of them were playing. And they're not sure how it's going to end up and what's going to happen in the future. But that was an interesting one as well. And Cobras obviously finally getting their first win of the season after two not so positive results in the first two games at home. So they've finally got the win there now, and hopefully they push forward. And they're one of the contenders that all of us had near the upper end of the table, but they were languishing down the bottom for a while. The other State League games was Bacala versus Salisbury. So we all had, I think Bacala, most of us had them in and around the 6, and Salisbury are the surprise package doing so well so far in the season. They played an away game against Bacala, and the 37-year-old Calvin Embargo, he's still in amongst the goals. I thought that was quite interesting to see. He made the transfer back to Bacala after a short stint at Adelaide Uni last season. And I didn't realise his age and how he's still pumping out the goals. So I thought that was quite a good thing to see. And the other one was Gawler versus Pontian, which was one of the standout teams at the start of the State League 2 season was Pontian. They went to Gawler, who had, I think in the newspaper it said they had a 10-1 aggregate in the first two games. And somehow they managed to put 5 past Pontian and have a few star performers in a night game at home there.
David, on to you in the game that we covered together. You want to talk about the defence, which is yet to be breached of Adelaide Comets.
Yeah, so going into that game, I hadn't seen Comets playing, but going into that game, you could cast a glance at the league table, and I think as of last week when they all played, we were in round 2, correct me if I'm wrong, I'm sure you will, Comets were the only side in senior football whose first 11 had not conceded a goal. So I'm talking NPL, State League 1, State League 2. And that statistic stood out for me a little bit, but I thought maybe they would find Adelaide City a tougher test than their first 2 games had been. And I was proven wrong. So the back 4 at Comets, so that's Daniel Vaughan in goal, Jaden Labasso, Nathan Demu, Adam Lecornu, and Nathan Andy Jantu. Were just such a well-marshalled, well-disciplined back 4 that I think Adelaide City could probably have played till midnight and not scored against. So the coach there, George Sonis, has really got a back 4 that it's going to be hard to see how they'll be breached. The way things go through the course of a season, there's bound to be an injury or a suspension that pops up at some stage, and at that point, I guess we'll see what they try to do to try and continue their form. But I just, based on what I saw the other night of that Comets backline, and even off the ball, so as commentators or analysts or whatever you want to call us, we're always watching, or often watching, what's happening at the other end of the park. We're not just following where the ball is, sort of thing. And off the ball, they were in constant communication. They were moving up as a unit. They were just superb. They were just so well drilled. So I don't know who Comets play next. I can't remember off the top of my head, but it'll be interesting to see if and when they concede, maybe a penalty or a set piece or something. But in open play, they just looked impenetrable.
Just a quick one. Their next league game is against Para Hills.
Okay, right, and that's at home. Was that away?
It is. Yeah, it's at Service.
Yeah.
Well, Service FM. Yeah.
Yeah. Look, they were the back 4 were just awesome, and the keeper Daniel Vaughan. I mean, at one stage, Vaughan did come out for a through ball that had been pushed through by one of the City players. I can't remember who it was, sorry. And he got to the ball just as it was at the edge of the box. He was kind of caught in two minds about how he dealt with it. But in the end, there just never seemed to be in any danger there, So that back four just looks superb. So that's my pick of the week.
More NPL to talk about. Mark, Campbelltown versus Metro.
Yeah, look, this is a lot of us have touted this to be the top two this season. A lot of us have gone Campbelltown and Metro as the top two. I know I have. And it was a great insight to see how both teams were going to size up against each other. Campbelltown, as we know, got the win 2-0. Alex Mullins scoring 30th minute mark in the first half, and then for me, goal of the week with young Nicholas Graves getting off the mark. He did score in round one, but then got given as an own goal. So he opened his account with a great volley, which, to be honest, it was a great finish the way he controlled the volley, because 9 times out of 10 the players are going to hit that. It's going to go flying over the bar. But I thought it was just a great insight to see how the two sides would match up against each other. And it was pretty even for most of the game from what I saw. And I think Campbelltown lost a player the week before. Obviously, they lost the goalkeeper, Wooding, when they played Croydon. Everyone's like, oh, my Croydon, they beat them, and which they did. But from that game as well, Campbelltown never seemed like they were out of the game or under a lot of pressure. The goal came from, unfortunately, a goalkeeper error. And so when Metro lost their play, they lost Noel McMurray in the 60th minute, 63rd minute. It was interesting to see how Campbelltown would approach it, and they managed to obviously get that second goal. But I just thought it's a good insight into how those two teams are going to match up, and also the fact that what happens with Metro, they've lost their man, and it'll be interesting to see obviously how they replace him in their next game. I think they've got a cup game against Salisbury this week, so I'm assuming that he'll miss the cup game. But the other thing is I think I went Metro in my picks just for that round, just purely based on form. I think it's since 2021 Campbelltown haven't beaten Metro in the league. I think it's been like 9 games that Metro have beaten Campbelltown in the league. So it was quite an interesting stat, hence why I find that quite a great result for Campbelltown to one, get that monkey off the back, and two, it really does stamp their case for the top of the table, as I've predicted.
Yeah, I just wanted to make a point as well. They were missing as well, Campbelltown, Jake Halliday and Joel Allwright. So that's a couple big outs, but they still managed to get such a successful game out of it. And they had brought in some players like Connor Santafanti to fill in at that fullback role, and some other players as well. But it goes to show what their squad depth is like and how they're really going to travel forward in this long season.
Yeah, their squad depth is crazy, to be honest. And do you know who? Funny enough, one of my favourite players for Campbelltown so far has been Brandon Santafanti, sitting in the holding role in the midfield. He's been outstanding. I think he's been brilliant for Campbelltown, just sitting in that hole and just breaking everything up. I've been really impressed with him this year. He was in and out the squad last year, but this year he seems to have made that spot his own. And he's got some good players around him as well. So you sort of go, the likes of Allwright can play that role. So yeah, it's good to see that they've got those youngsters coming through.
Well, that's all our picks of the week. We'll go through and quickly review this past weekend's fixtures, starting with last Thursday. We had 4 games on, of course, due to the massive heat wave across the weekend. We had almost all the games postponed. So we had Thursday games, State League 2, Seaford versus Noarlunga. Perhaps a surprising 2-2 draw. I remember you, David, saying that you were, I think you said something along the lines of you were convinced that Noarlunga wouldn't get anything out of that. State League 1 versus Western Strikers versus West Adelaide, 2-0 the way of West Adelaide. As we spoke about, Adelaide Cobras versus Vipers 3-2, and Adelaide Comets versus Adelaide City 1-0. We'll talk quickly about that State League 2 game. David, you were sure Noarlunga wasn't getting anything out of this.
Yeah, so once again, I've put my foot right in my mouth and knocked my teeth out, or whatever the phrase is. So my apologies to to the people I slag off as we do these podcasts, and then they go and prove me wrong. But I think the whole round was a bit of a round of upsets, wasn't it? From some of the games up in the NPL right through, there was a few games that we just weren't expecting to end the way they did. So yeah, my apologies to Norlunga. Sorry.
No, it's part of the game. We get to do these things, and we can just rebound for the next week. So
Yeah, absolutely.
Point. And this is one thing though. If you do say something not bad, but you go against the team, just say you were motivating them to get the result for that week.
Yeah, call me the 12th man.
Yeah, exactly. I did it for Salisbury last year when I said they'd finish 5th. They went and won the title. They use that as motivation. So that's what you do. You work with that, all right?
Absolutely. Thanks for that. You're my new therapist. My new therapist.
So on that game, I actually went out and watched the Seaford Noarlunga game last Thursday night, being close to home. So, but to be honest, to be fair, I thought Noarlunga actually deserved the win. Seaford equalised very late in the game. I think it was, what was it in the end? The 94th minute. Seaford's great little player, Harry Applin, he was there when I was playing there many years ago now. So still around, still does his job. He popped up in the 94th minute to score the equaliser. But I think Noarlunga really snatched a draw from the jaws of victory. I think Noarlunga should have held out and actually won the game. But fair dues to Seaford. They fought to the very end and got a result. But yeah, overall, I thought Noarlunga probably should have they should have edged that game. So, and there was a great crowd out there too for a Thursday night Seaford Noarlunga, which we expect. But no, it was a great crowd.
On to the Friday, we had our first big piece of silverware in the WMPL. Adelaide Comets versus West Adelaide in the preseason cup final. Comets coming out 4-0 winners, and the WSL preseason cup final 1-1, but Elizabeth Grove winning on penalties against Campbelltown. Again, Campbelltown in WSL building up a strong side. Elizabeth Grove themselves as well coming up as a potential strong side too. And then Adelaide Comets just playing against the West Adelaide side, which I don't think has completely gelled as to what I've seen so far.
Yeah, look, I picked West Adelaide just based on their players again, knowing who's come back into the side, obviously with the likes of Nicole Chile and Nicole Blackett. I can never remember which way her name went, so apologies, Nicole. But her coming back obviously from Melbourne, Quigley back playing again, I thought they might have etched a Comet side, probably a little bit inexperienced in finals football, and their coach in Daniel having that little bit of an experience. But Comet show it didn't matter. They came out and absolutely romped at home with 4-0 in the end. So congrats to Daniel with his first trophy there as a Comet's new head coach, moving from South Adelaide. But it was always close to getting them promoted from the WSL, but could never quite get them over that last hurdle. But his first hurdle as Comet's coach, he's done really well and obviously won a bit of silverware. And the Grove winning the WSL, great news for actually a former coach of mine, Dorba, who's coaching out there. He coaches the Grove women's team, so congrats to them. Great result for what we could call an amateur club. Their heart is all set originally from the amateurs, so great result for the Grove and a great stepping stone for their season. So congrats to the Grove team and to Dorbs out there coaching.
I just caught the end of it, didn't I, Seb? You were up in the box there when saw the last sort of 20 minutes of that match. I just wanted to give a special shout out to one Brooklyn Rigney, who came on for about 5 minutes for the Adelaide Comets at the end. She's a former teammate of my daughter's, and I was proud as punch to see her appearing in that final. So I just wanted to give her a wee shout out, and congratulations to Comets, and well done to West Adelaide. I know they put in a solid enough effort, but just not enough on the day, was it?
Rest of action on the Friday in SL2, Gawler Eagles versus Pontian Eagles, 5-2 the way of Gawler. In State League 1, West Torrens Bocala versus Salisbury United, with Bocala coming out 2-1 winners. And then 5 MPL games, Campbelltown versus Metro, 2-0 the way of the home side. Modbury Jets versus Croydon, 3-2, and was a pretty dramatic game in the end. Adelaide Croatia versus Adelaide Olympic, 1-0 the way of the away side. Perhaps another surprising result along with this one as well. FK Beograd versus South Adelaide, 3-2 winners against FK Beograd away from home after the Sprinklers came on as well. And another interesting fact to talk about. And Para Hills coming back late against Adelaide United to win 2-1 after Musa Toure getting that equaliser and coming back from injury. Any standouts? I mean, a lot of them are standouts there, but any in particular, boys?
Well, I've already spoken about the Campbell-Town game, so I think we can skip over that unless someone wants to add on that. But and we've obviously covered a bit on the Olympic game, but I'll pick up that FKB grad South Adelaide game. For me, JJ right out coming back to South Adelaide starting 11. We always knew that with him in the side, they are a different side altogether, and I think that showed. They hadn't scored a goal up until that game. They'd conceded, I think, 9 goals in those first 2 games, and then managed to turn it around against an FKB grad side who got a great win the week before, and didn't play too badly in round 1. They just started late. So to come out there with a 3-2 win, massive result. Caught up with Ant Rideout actually prior to that game, and he said, look, we've got players coming back in, and it will just take some time for them to gel and get the right rhythm, and it proved to be the case, and they've come out with a great 3-2-1 win with Donny Pollock getting 2, JJ Rideout getting 1, and Donny Pollock goal, I'm not sure if he meant that or not. I'm not sure if it was a cross or a shot, but it's gone in off the back post from a tight angle, but I'll give it to him. But yeah, the Sprinklers coming on. It's always funny to see what happens late at night when games are changed and things like that, and purely because of the hot weather. So the Sprinklers did come on with about 15 minutes to go. And from what I heard, the game was almost going to get called off. It was almost at that point until someone worked from the crowd, from FKB grad, worked some magic and managed to turn the Sprinklers off. I'm not going to say how they did that, but it was great to see that they were able to do it, because I don't want to get anyone in trouble. So, but yeah, so that was I think that was probably a good standout game. I said again against a runner result, against sort of what we all picked result wise there. So what else was there? The other games. So yeah, I think that's probably all from me. Like I said, actually the Gawler game was quite an interesting one. We've already spoke about it, but that Gawler result, we didn't expect that. And just quickly talking about Bacala beating Salisbury. I've seen the goals there, and I know Matt Gaston not happy with the way that the goals were conceded, both coming from set plays. But when you've got a player like Calvin Mbaga in the box, you can't leave him the amount of space that they left him. They had no one in front of him, 2 free headers. And yes, he is 37, but the dude's fit as a fiddle. He's a personal trainer, so he keeps himself fit. And mate, I'll tell you what, he could keep, if he stays in his current condition, he's going to be playing until he's probably 45, maybe 50. I'll tell you what, because he's fit as a fiddle.
I was just going to add about chat a little bit about Para Hills Knights and Adelaide United. So obviously Para Hills Knights scored their winner in the 93rd minute. I think was it Omid Masawi that scored the winner? Yeah. So I obviously wasn't at that game. Well, obviously wasn't at the game. I just wasn't at that game. But Adelaide United now obviously sitting bottom of the table, and I'm just wondering what they'll do now to try and turn things around, because are they the only team? I'll just check the ladder really quickly as I'm blethering here, but I believe they might be the only. Yeah, they're the only team that haven't won a game yet. That's right. Okay. So they're the only team in the NPL that hasn't won a game, and so they're sitting there, played 3 games, no points, and there's a bunch of them in 3 points, and there's a bunch of them in 6 points, and then there's one team, Comets, on 9, who they've not lost a game yet. But obviously, Adelaide United will have to try and do something to try and turn things around, or their season's going to be over. Or certainly, finals football might be over before it's even really begun. So. Be interesting to see what they do over the next couple of weeks to try and turn things around. I just wanted to add that.
Yeah, I saw that goal from Masawi as well, the winner, and he took that so well. I don't know if you've had a chance to look at it, but he took on like 3 players, danced through the back line, and then just great little finish into the bottom corner, left the keeper no chance. So great finish, great run. So concerning you're right in the fact that it's concerning for Adelaide United, and how do they reverse results? How do they change their current form? And the problem is that I was just chatting to Johnny about this the other day on his TV show, and the fact that they're in that loop of where they've lost some of their more senior players and more experienced players who have all moved up into the A-League a lot more. So they're at that start of that cycle again, where they're bringing in those younger players, the fresh players. And I'm sure Alessio can actually talk a little bit more about this. He's got connections within that group of players. But I've seen it before. It happened when I was still playing that LA United would have these cycles where one year they were unstoppable, the next year they'd tail off a little bit because those new players had to come through. So it'll be great test for Ayrton and the team, his coaching staff there to turn the form around with the players that he's got. Maybe might get the odd A-League player back here and there, but I don't think he's going to have as many to pull on.
Yeah, I tend to agree. They had a new back four and keeper from the previous week as well, with young Bay Versace, Oscar Page coming back in. Mulwal made his MPL debut as well. He's another one. I think he might be the same birth year as Amlani Tattoo, so it's another one to look out for. So it's going to be interesting as well to see. I've been told as well they got a Joey's camp coming up soon as well, so it's going to be interesting to see who's selected out of that lot as well, and if they lose them for a few more camps and tournaments. I think there's one in Spain as well coming up, so it's going to be really interesting to see what they can do. I think they always manage to get just enough points to make it stick above the relegation in the middle part of the season. So especially with Adelaide United senior their A-League teams woes as well, it's going to be interesting to see who will come back down, gain some form, and then go back up as well.
And our final matches for the past week, as of recording last night on Tuesday, had 2 State League games. One in State League 2, Cove versus Mowbray Vista 3-0, the way of the home side, and Adelaide Victory versus Sturt Lions 2-0, which I believe, Mark and Alessio, you managed to catch a bit of that State League 1 game?
I didn't manage to catch the juicy parts of it, unfortunately. By the time I went to rewatch the live stream, it already started back at the 67th minute with the scoreline already at its final stage for the rest of the game. But I think Mark could see most of the juicy bits and the beef of the game, and he had some things to share as well. But from what I could tell in the last few parts, the pitch probably had a bit to say as well, probably more conditioned to playing on the perfect artificial pitches and pitches that don't have a bounce like that. But they've had to play on the artificial the first 2 weeks. Now the first time they come to grass, it's probably been one of their poorer results. But Adelaide Victory, my cousin, one of them finally got on the score sheet as well. So happy to see that.
One of many.
He sent me the goal as well. So I think they must have got fixed some part of the live stream because he seemed to have the right scoreboard and everything as well. But a bit of a scrappy goal as well to concede for Sturt Lions. But he was pretty confident in saying that his team, I guess they have a lot of other teams around and more pronounced names in that league that are probably...
Oh, he's frozen.
Hasn't been paying his internet bill.
No, probably not.
Because his parents are away, so he's responsible for all of the bills, and he hasn't settled any of them. So now the internet's just shut down at his house.
For the top 3, but to his knowledge, he thinks that, and that's fine.
You want to sample this and just do like some kind of funky remix of his voice?
Can you hear me? Is it back?
We can.
He's back. Oh.
Yeah. We have one of those mini blackouts, those bat things that we keep having in our area. It happens like every now and then. It goes out for like a couple.
Having another one.
You've got to keep this in, Seb. This is gold.
Yeah.
The joys of podcasting from multiple sites.
Well, that's one way to shut him up, isn't it? Just pull the Cat 5 out the wall. Moving on.
Yeah, so I did watch I watched most of the Victory Sturt game. The best part about that game was the fact that for me, I missed both goals. So every time I stepped away from the screen, I missed the 2 goals, which was just awesome. But overall, the game itself, yeah, as Alessio said, the pitch did play a part. There was parts I was watching them run, and it looked like they were running on a beach. So I'm not sure if Council just dumped a whole heap of sand on it. You couldn't see it from the camera, which was interesting. But when I was watching, especially the main North Road end of the ground, the far corner, it was every time someone took a step, all you just see was this puff of sand just come out of the ground. So that would have certainly had an effect on the Sturt players, considering they're used to playing on the artificial. But to me, what was probably worrying for me was without Brian there for Sturt, they did tend to struggle to create chances up top. So for me, that was probably a concern that Lino would probably have to address, and I'm sure he probably is already contemplating on how he does that. And and creates more chances for his strikers, because he's got some great strikers. He's got Samed playing up top as well, who can half hit a ball and finish. So I just think that they were off the boil a little bit. Mind the turn of phrase there, considering how hot it's been. But I think they just struggled a little bit. And then obviously the other game was the Cove and Mowbray game, Seb. Johnny actually did go to that game. He was talking to me during the game, and he was saying Ollie Grant. You guys will know Ollie Grant, especially you, David Grant, playing up in the hills for a number of years, and you watching him play. But they said Johnny was saying that he was excellent up top for Cove, and he got his just reward at the end of the game with scoring the third goal. But he's saying he was excellent up top for Cove, and Cove certainly deserved the victory. And he also said the chips up there were great. So just a bit of footy scran there. The chips were really good up at the Cove.
Always love a bit of that. We'll go on to our previews for the coming week. Bit of a mixed week in terms of fixtures. We've got Australia Cup games, we've got WSL games, WMPL, but we'll go through them and give our predictions on them, starting on the time of recording. A game that's tonight between Adelaide Blue Eagles and Playford, a repeat of their Australia Cup game. I will go for Playford.
I'm going to go with Blue Eagles on their form.
I'll go with Blue Eagles as well. I think it's interesting as well. David was saying that Comets are the only teams that haven't conceded a goal all season. Both these teams have only conceded one goal each in their first two games. So I'm sure you're going to see the end of that tonight. And it just seems like every night game at Martin seems to be going the way of the home team. So I'm going to give it to Blue Eagles.
So are we expecting a high-scoring game then, Alessio?
On one end, hopefully. But, yeah, I think it's going to be Blue Eagles. They've been outstanding so far at the start of the season, and they're really setting the pace in that league.
I'll follow both your leads. I'll say Blue Eagles as well, but I think it'll be fairly low scoring. But I reckon last week the three of us agreed on something on one game. Was that Comets and City? And I reckon Seb got it right. So
I went for the draw with that game. So
but it didn't end up a draw, did it?
no, it didn't. So but I didn't jump on the City bandwagon last week.
Yeah. So I'll go with Blue Eagles for this one.
Easy done. On to Thursday night. I mean, by the time this episode's out, you'll be able to know if these predictions are right and wrong.
Yeah.
But on the Thursday night in State League 2, Adelaide Hills Hawks versus Eastern United. I'll go for Eastern.
I'll also probably go for Eastern. I'll probably go along and watch that. I think I've got a free pass for tomorrow night, so I'll probably go along and watch that game. It's just along the road for me up here in the beautiful Adelaide Hills. Catch up with a few old chums there. But yeah, unfortunately, I'm going to back Eastern United. Well, not unfortunately for Eastern United.
Maybe he'll give motivation, Dave.
Yeah, Hawks, you're going to get beat.
I think I was going to give it to Eastern United. I saw they played their reserves game there last night, and they had that on YouTube Live, and I think Adelaide Hills Hawks won 5-2 in that one. So their young players are doing quite well, and it's quite surprising, especially some of the young players that Eastern United have as well. And some of those goals were quite good to look at as well. So I'm going to give it to Eastern.
I'm going to go Eastern just on form. I think they're coming off a good result last week, I think it was. So I think I'll go with Eastern. But I'm not, I'll go with Eastern.
Also on the Thursday, our first Australia Cup game for the weekend, North versus South in Mowbray Jets versus Seaford down south at Seaford. I'll go for Mowbray Jets though.
It's quite easy to go for all of the favourites, isn't it? And I do like the Cup. I do like an upset. So I think Modbury will be too good in this one. So I'm going to back them too. But I'll try and pick an upset or two a bit further down the track.
Yeah, I like the Cup as well. I love the Cup. I love all the Cups. They're great to play in. They're great to watch. But unfortunately for Seaford, I think Modbury probably just got too much in the tank. Even if they jumble their squad around a little bit after watching them against Noarlunga, yes, they fought to the end, but I think Modbury just enough quality to overcome Seaford in this one. I might head down and get a glimpse of that game if I can tomorrow night, being close to home. So being not as pretty as the Adelaide Hills, David, but right next to the beach, I'll take that. So
I was going to go the same. Modbury Jets, they seem like they're quite far ahead of Seaford so far. And I reckon, McCabe's could get a few. O'Doherty as well. Started the season quite well for them. So I reckon they're going to score a few past them as well.
do you reckon they could be rested, Alessio?
Possibly. It's quite a vast change of scenery for Jordan O'Doherty playing in the A-Leagues and in the Indian Premier Leagues and then playing at Seaford Rangers. But possibly, I think you can see there was some players on the bench as well for Modbury Jets. You know how stacked their squad is as well. So you could probably see some of them play some more minutes as well. We saw Matthew Mullen get back in the team as well in the previous week, getting on the goal scoring sheet as well. So maybe they'll use that time to tinker with their squad as well.
On to the Friday where we have the Women's League starting with the WSL between Cove, now coached by former West Adelaide coach Tracy Jenkins, and Elizabeth Grove, who obviously won the WSL preseason cup. For this one, I reckon I'll go Elizabeth Grove.
I'm going to back the Grove on that one after their win last week. They'll just take a massive amount of confidence into round one, so I'm going to have to go with the Grove.
I'll go with Elizabeth Grove as well. I think Cove had quite a poor season last year, to my memory. I knew someone in the team, and she's since left after doing an injury as well. And they had not the best of seasons last year, but they do get a lot of support out there as well. And a lot of the girls seem to enjoy it there. And they had a coach last year that they were playing a lot under, so he got a lot out of the players. So it'd be interesting to see with the coaching change what they can do.
A couple of years ago, I would have said Cove easily in this one, but things have changed, and I think Elizabeth Grove will be too good for Cove. I think you're right. I think Cove's form over the last year or two has not been as strong, and Grove have just come through really well. From where did they start out? I reckon they were in Division 2, maybe. I saw them a couple of times playing the old Division 2, so I think Grove will be too strong for Cove now.
To our first round of the WNPL, where newly promoted Sturt Lions host Adelaide Comets, the league winners from last year, but after especially the game Comets had last week, I reckon I'll go Comets.
Oh, I was going to go a draw, actually. I think this is at Carina Reserve, right?
Yeah.
I think they got some stars in that Sturt Lions team. I know Florence Russell's in there, and they've obviously signed some new players as well, some international, I think some Asian players they signed as well, some visa players this season. So I think they got a lot to show. Obviously, they didn't have the best results in the cup, getting to the final stages, but I think they're going to be a dark horse this season, Sturt Lions, and especially seeing as some of the goals and results they did last year in that promotion season. I think they're going to have some young stars that got something to prove. So I'm going to go for a draw here.
I'm not going to go for a draw. I'm going to go for an away win. So Adelaide Comets to win that one. They looked very good the other night in that cup final, didn't they, Seb? So yeah, I think I'll go for an away win. I see it said Friday night, 7:30. So I might even try and pop along because that's not too far from me either.
Yeah, look, I'm going to go with Comets. Just purely the fact that they're coming off a great win last week. They've got a really good squad. Sturt, obviously new to the league. No one knows what to expect with them. I mean, they had the top goal scorer amongst their ranks last year for the WSL. So whether or not that will make a big difference, I would say it will do. But against the Comets side that coming off that cup win, I think I have to go with Comets.
There's also a triple header at Service FM Stadium on that same night, starting with Flinders United versus West Adelaide on the back pitch. West Adelaide, as we said, played in that preseason cup final last week, but have a lot of big players coming back, and I reckon I'd back them with a win to start the season as well.
I reckon I'm going to go for a draw, actually, there. I like what Joel Porter does with the Flinders girls team. He's a great coach, working wonders with them. So I'm just relying on the fact that West Adelaide coming off a loss last week, things might not still be quite gelling yet. They might give them a couple of weeks to really get into the stride. So I'm going to go out on a limb, but I'm going to go for the draw.
I'm going to go for a Flinders United win in this one, I think. West Adelaide, I think I would probably have backed them had I not seen a bit of the Friday night game. Was it Friday night or was it Saturday night, Seb?
Friday.
Friday. Okay, thank you very much. I do get forgetful in my old age. But yeah, no, I'm going to go with Flinders United home win. Joel Porter to get 3 points on the board after the first round.
I was going to stick the same with Mark. I was going to go for a draw in this game. I think they're obviously missing, who saved them last year was Cote Rojas, who signed near the end and got them just enough points to stay up. Hopefully they've regained their players that were back from injuries as well and see what they can do this year, but I'm going to go for the draw.
Onto the main pitch where Adelaide Uni, who just stayed in the WNPL through the promotion playoffs, play against Adelaide City. I reckon I'll go Adelaide City.
I'll go Adelaide City, keep it short on this one.
I'll go Adelaide City as well. Don't know much about Adelaide University's women's side, but
new coach as well.
Adelaide Uni have.
Yeah, Jason Trimboli is coaching.
Oh, okay.
It was a great pickup for them.
Yeah. I still think Adelaide City.
I'm going to go for a draw in this one. It's a couple good signings as well for Adelaide Uni they picked up around the leagues. I'm sure that's to do with the coach as well. And also condolences to Michaela Vidmar doing her ACL just a couple of days ago as well, which puts her out for the whole season. That's a big miss for them as well. She was such a good player for them in the previous campaign. And obviously, I think she had turned down some W League offers while she was focusing on her studies and playing here in Adelaide. So it's going to be a big miss to see what they do without her, but I'm sure they've got capable replacements. And when that W League season finishes, they'll probably have some new signings as well to gel in halfway through the season.
Yeah, Michaela Vidmar, formerly Canberra United, was who she played for in the A-League when she had her time there. And the final game for the Friday night, the grand final rematch. I'm actually really excited for this one. Salisbury Inter versus NTC. Of course, similar situation with Adelaide United in the men's, where again it's that sort of turnover year upon year. Salisbury Inter coming out on top through a penalty shootout in the grand final. I reckon I'd still go Inter though.
Go on the draw. I'm just not sure what loop NTC are in this year. Michaela's done great work out there with the NTC with the women's squad. I just don't know what loop they're in. Are they in their fresh loop with new younger players, or are they that year older and they're still within the squad for another year? So at this stage, I'm not quite sure which loop they're in. I haven't had a chance to see them play, but I'm going to go for the draw.
Yeah, look, it's very early, isn't it, to be making predictions. We had this trouble when we were trying to predict the men's round one game with no real form to go by. I'm going to go for Salisbury Inter home win in this one. Yep, Salisbury Inter to win.
I'll go with Salisbury Inter as well. Keep it short. I don't really know too much about them, but I think with a lot of the coaching changes this year, hopefully they can get on top.
Hey, Alessio, just a quick question for you. Any cousins playing in any of these matches?
None of my girl cousins play soccer, unfortunately. If you look at any of the hip hop dance ones, probably I got a few in there, but yeah, none for the soccer.
Okay,
just all
thank you.
Playing in them, that's all.
To the Australia Cup matches for the Friday night, a amateur versus state league game between Elizabeth Downs and Gawler Eagles. Again, we spoke about last time we spoke about Elizabeth Downs. We couldn't really call it upset, and I guess after this past weekend's result with Gawler, it probably is a lot tighter. I reckon it will go to penalties or extra time at least. I reckon, but at the Downs, I reckon it'll be Downs because it's a Downs home game. I reckon.
Yeah, Downs in 90. Downs in 90 for me. Simple as that.
Fair.
I would agree. I think Downs are going to get the win as well. I think that Gawler result, I think the only results they have got so far have been at home. They won their first cup game there against Noarlunga. They beat Pontian there at home now. So playing at a tough place like Argana Park, I think it's going to be a home win for Elizabeth Downs.
Yeah, I'm with you both as well. I think it'll be an Elizabeth Downs win. I think it will be fairly comfortable as well. There you go. I've stuck my neck right out. I'm going to say it's a Downs win and a comfortable one at that. Next
Australia Cup game with amateur versus NPL. Tea Tree Gully versus Adelaide Comets. It's a hub. If my brother was playing for Tea Tree Gully, I would back them. But unfortunately, Achilles is gone. He's a very broken man these days. So I reckon I'll go Comets.
No cousins playing.
No, just. Oh, actually, yes, actually, yes. I have a cousin playing for Teachery Gully as well.
And you're not backing them. Gee whiz.
That's the difference between you and me.
Yeah.
Always back to cousins, mate.
Exactly. I'm going to go with the Comets. Comets win. I think they'll rotate their squad just a little bit. They'll give a rest to some of the players, but I think it'll be enough. Comets will still have enough. Clearly.
I would agree entirely with you, Mark. Sorry, Alessio.
I was just going to keep it simple. Comets for me as well. I think Teachery Gully have created some NPL cup sets in the past, but I think it's probably a step too far for a team like Adelaide Comets, who are top of the league, is a vast difference from West Adelaide in their relegation year. So,
yeah, I'd agree. I think Comets will be far too strong. I think Teachery Gully will be a good representation of the amateur league, but I think it'll be a step too far. And having watched Comets the other night, I can't see Teachery Gully getting a goal.
Yeah, unfortunately, they don't have an O'Neill on their side, so can't do much against the NPL side. Next game, Western Strikers versus Campbelltown City. I'll go with Campbelltown.
The cup's a tricky one to predict because you don't know who might be rested and so on. And big clubs can come into these games with a degree of confidence or overconfidence. I'm not saying that Campbelltown will be guilty of that. I'm sure they'll be wary. But having said all that, I don't think this will be an upset. I think Campbelltown will win this.
I agree. I think Campbelltown will win it as well. I think from what I've been told, the pitch is in good conditions at the start of this year so far. So it's not going to play in too much of a difference in this game. And I think Matriciani will definitely use this to rotate his squad. He did it so much in pre-season that I think most of those bench players from the weekend and those players who were replacing the injured players, they might get a game as well. So I think that Campbelltown are going to come through this one.
Yeah, I'll go Campbelltown. Keep it quick on that one.
Where's your camera anyway, Seb? Why are you hiding?
What do you mean?
Your camera's not on.
Yeah, it is
on.
I can see him. Where's your internet, David? You forgot to pay the bills as well?
Oh, it's some kind of local blackout. I can't stand it. It happens all the time.
On to Saturday, where a WSL game between Modbury Vista and newly relegated Fulham United. I'll go for Modbury Vista at Modbury.
I think I'll go with Modbury Vista on this one at home. Fulham not obviously the best of years last year, so I think I'll just stick with the home side on this one.
I'm going to go with Modbury Vista. I think Fulham United have lost a few players from my knowledge.
I'm going for Modbury as well.
And Saturday night WMPL action between Metro United and West Torrens Burkalla at TK Shutter Reserve. I'll go for Metro United.
Yeah, look, I'm going to go with Metro United on this one as well, actually. I've started dealing with a gentleman that's actually involved with Metro United Women's. He's an engineer that I've had to use for work. So he's had a few words with me about Metro and that they're looking good. So I'm going to go with Metro United.
Insider knowledge, that is. Look, Metro United have obviously got a very strong history and a very strong pedigree in women's football. So short and sweet and simple, I'm going to back them.
Same here, Metro United.
And down into State League 2 for the men's, Adelaide Uni versus Mount Barker United in the heart of the city. I'm sure if you manage to get a win, Alessio, a night out on the town will be a just reward.
Yeah, well, we actually had one last week as well. We had a team night out, and that one went pretty long as well. But if we can find a car park, I've never been there to play Adelaide Uni, but I've worked close to there in the past, and I know how hard it is to find a car park. So I'm hoping that there is some that are closer to the pitch. But I think it's the only league game that's played in all competitions this weekend, I think.
The men's one, yep.
So it's going to be interesting to see. I think our reserves and 18s, because Adelaide Uni are in the cup, the postponed schedule for last week's game has no set date for them either. So it's just the first team playing. So hopefully there'll be a pretty decent crowd. I've never been there to see a Adelaide Uni sports game on a Saturday, but I know they have quite a lot of other games played at the same time. So it's going to be very interesting.
He's taking a long time to get to his prediction, isn't he, boys?
And I'm very glad that this game was postponed. It gave me time to recover from an injury, so I didn't have to miss a game. And we've been working. We had some footage in the preseason as well, playing them. So we're going to set up a bit interesting this weekend, and we're going to get a win.
I'm sure
He
he's
said
got
it very quickly, didn't he? So, we're going to get a win.
I'm sure he's got a cousin playing as well, so he's got to back that. So, sorry, I'm going to go with Adelaide Uni on this one. Sorry, mate.
Right, we'll use it as motivation.
Good. That's exactly right. That's what I'm here for. I'm a motivational speaker. You guys aren't going to win. I've got Adelaide Uni. Use that to your advantage.
So, Alessio, Adelaide Uni at home. Oh, you're going to drive all the way down there, and you're worrying about your biggest worry is where you're going to park your car. I think your biggest worry is going to be. I think your biggest worry is going to be scoring a goal against them. They've only conceded 1 in their 2 games. They've scored 5. Again, I can't see where Mount Barker's goals are going to come from. Use this as motivation, young man. You're not going to win.
And we're not going to score as well. That's some more motivation.
No, I just can't see where your goals are going to come from, and that's a pretty tight-looking defence you're up against. I'm sorry. Use it as motivation. Sorry.
Yeah, it seems like that'll be the motto for most of our season. So,
yeah. Well, at least you backed a win, because normally when you back in Mount Barker, you're saying it'll be a draw. So you've stuck your neck out, and I admire your courage.
Yeah, I think we bonded quite well as a team on the weekend, and I reckon we're all going to use that confidence and coercion with the team that we're going to get a win. I reckon it's going to be a table topper.
Cool.
We'll see you next week to discuss.
I feel like every week before we say this, we always say sorry, Alessio, before we get any sort of prediction in a Mount Barker game. I wait for the week where we just go, do you know what? I think you're going to do it. On to the Australia Cup games for the Saturday, starting with Salisbury United versus Metro Stars. I'm going to go with the upset of Salisbury United.
You're stealing my thunder. I was going to do the same.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah, I have a feeling that the home record there at Salisbury United is going to continue another week. They're going to get that. I think it's maybe 15 or 16 they've got so far undefeated there. So they're going to keep that going, and it's going to be the first shock we see in the Cups.
I think it's going to be a great tactical battle as well between the 2 coaches. I like both coaches, the way they play. So I think it's going to be a great battle from that point of view as well.
Yeah, I think it's going to be an upset. So is that all 4 of us agreed on an upset there?
Yeah.
Do we think it'll be an upset in 90 minutes, or do you think it'll go 120 in penalties?
I'm going long.
Yeah.
I reckon it'll be 120.
Yeah, I'll go 122.
I'm going
122.
I'm going like Arsenal game this morning, mate. All the way to penalties.
I mean, if it goes to penalties, it's anyone's game, right? You just wonder, will Salisbury set up just to try and take it? Will they park the bus and try and take it? No, you think they'll attack and try and get something out of it in the 90?
Matt Gaston will play his natural game. He'll set him up to counteract what Metro do, but he'll try and play as much as possible his normal game.
Yeah.
If he doesn't, I'd be very surprised.
That'd be a good game to watch, wouldn't it?
It would be.
On to a Greek derby with MA Hawks of the Amateur League playing against Adelaide Olympic. I will have to go with Adelaide Olympic with this one, I reckon.
I don't know much about the Messinian Association Hawks' recent form. I haven't really seen them of late. The Amateur League is... I didn't get to any Amateur League games last year, I don't think. I can't see them winning this one, though. So, yeah. No win for you, Messinian Hawks.
Interesting thing, I just looked at their previous cup game where they beat Unley United 2-1. And it's the goal scorer for MA Hawks in that one. Number 11, Costamantis. So he's obviously made the switch by the time of that game.
Yeah, I was going to say a bit different Costamantis, surely.
I don't know. But yeah.
Where's the team played? Who's the home team?
MA Hawks.
That's down at the Brickworks. Do they play at the Brickworks?
King's Reserve.
You never know. Maybe there will be an upset there. I don't know.
They also got maybe Mark knows Elijah Macris as well. He might have been at Sturt when you came to train. I'm not sure. But yeah, he was a good player. He played for Fulham last year, and he scored a few goals as well. He was quite good, so it's going to be interesting to see what they do. But I think from what David and I saw on Friday night with Olympic versus Raiders, I think probably some of those subs, especially who they brought on, Mamadi Kamara, and they had T-Boy Kamara, and they had a couple players off the bench as well. And I think they hopefully can get some confidence and play a normal game instead of trying to set up for the counter attack and play very centrally direct. So interesting to see what they can do. But I've never heard of this ground as well, so maybe it could arise some dangers as well for the home side. But I'm going to go with Olympic.
Yeah, look, I'll go with Olympic. Keep it simple. Former club, NPL against amateurs. I'd like to think Olympic will win. No, straight in the heart, that one said. I only had 7. Give me a break. Not even a third of the league clubs, mate. Come on.
On to another amateur versus league game between Pitbulls and West Adelaide at Pitbulls. I'll go for West Adelaide on this one.
You would think West Adelaide would be too strong for Pitbulls, wouldn't you? Again, don't know much about the form of the Pitbulls. Are they Sunday Premier Division 1?
You keep talking and I'll let you know.
Okay.
Where are they based? King Cockburn Green.
That's Brahma Lodge.
Brahma Lodge.
Brahma Lodge.
Okay. I'm going to go West Adelaide. I think I'll keep it short. They come off a first win last week. I think they'll carry that into this week. So I'm going to go with West Adelaide.
Yeah, I think in the West Adelaide ranks, they've got the State League 1 top scorer as well, George Katzianis. Scored a few goals in his last few games, and I think he's going to continue it in this game. He was one of my opponents in our indoor on Monday, and the way he breaks those nets, I'm sure he's going to break a few more Pitbulls. So I'm going to give it to West Adelaide.
I can't remember if I ended up giving her an opinion or not, but I think West Adelaide will be too strong. But I just don't know much about Pitbull's form. Sorry. West Adelaide, there you go.
They are Saturday Div 1.
Saturday Division 1. Well, I mean, that's Saturday Division 1 and the Sunday Division 1. They're both, they're both strong competitions. I mean, I don't know who's in Saturday Division 1 now, but it used to be the likes of Bosa. I think Bosa's still up there. You know,
Bossa, Modbury Jets, but the other Modbury Jets, South Coast, Marion, a few old collegiate sides.
Yeah, I mean, it's a decent standard in both the Saturday and the Sunday comp. But I think West Adelaide will be too strong. I think, you know, a side like that, and they're coming off a good performance as well. So West Adelaide.
Adelaide Cobras versus Adelaide Victory in the Cup and All State League 1 affair. Probably a tough one to call, but I reckon at Cobras they'll get the win.
Yeah, I think it's a really tough one to call as well. They haven't had the best of forms there, Cobras at home. Just scraped a win in the last game, but I have a feeling this one will go at least to extra time, and then I think it'll be decided there. And I'm gonna give it to Adelaide Victory.
I'll also back Adelaide Victory in this one. I think they've had 2 wins and a loss, haven't they? Cobras maybe have 2 losses and a win. Victory, but that's another one that could go either way, or 120 minutes or penalties or whatever.
I'm going to go with Cobras on this. I just think with Victory playing last night, less turnaround time, I think it'll go a decent distance. Whether it will hit penalties, I'm not sure, but I think it'll go to extra time, and I'm going to go to Cobras.
Way up north for Northern Demons versus Para Hills Nice, State League 2 versus NPL. I reckon I'll go Para Hills, but I could see this one going 120.
This is up at Port Perry?
Yeah, Burn Park.
Just a quick editor's note. As of recording, the game is now no longer at Burn Park, but at Para Hills. So our predictions probably would have swayed a little bit, but it's fine. Continue with the show.
I'm going to go for an upset. I'm going to back the home team. I'll say Northern Demons will beat Para Hills all the way up there. Long drive home. I've done it myself.
I'm going to give it to Para Hills. I think they've shown a few things in these first few games that is pretty impressive. So I'm going to give it to them, and hopefully they can have a positive trip home.
I'm going to go with Para Hills, but I actually think it's going to be possibly extra time and penalties. It's going to be 30 degrees on Friday, so up there it's going to be warmer on an artificial pitch. Long drive, 2.5 hour drive up there. So I think Demons will really push them, but I think as long as their captain plays, Oliveira plays for Parahills, I think that's their trump card. I think if he plays, then Parahills will get up but if he doesn't play, I can see a cup set.
Cumberland versus Modbury Vista, State League 1 versus State League 2. I'll go Cumberland.
Yeah, see, I think the pitch may play a part in this one. Both of them play on artificial. I'm only kidding. To be honest, I think Cumberland will have enough in the tank to get past Modbury Vista. So Charlie used that as motivation, mate. But I think Cumberland will have just enough.
I can see give it to Cumberland.
Yeah, I can see it going extra time, though.
Yeah, I think I was a bit disappointed in the showing that Modbury Vista had against Cove, especially in how positive their preseason was and some of the pickups they had as well. So I think I'm going to give it to Cumberland, and hopefully Vista can turn it around their season in the league.
Well, I reckon Cumberland will have a few players come back as well into the side. So, like Harley Jet will be back, who missed last week's game. So, I think Wooding might be back as well.
I'm going to go for a cup set in this one. I'm going to go for a Modbury Vista win. For no reason other than I think, these games that are a wee bit tighter to call, I fancy the underdog in many cases. Don't think Cumberland have won a game yet. I think they've had a draw and a loss. Modbury Vista, can't remember off the top of my head what they've had, but I'll go for an upset. I'll go for Modbury Vista to win State League 2 over State League 1.
Another amateur versus NPL matchup in Elizabeth Grove versus Croydon FC at Elizabeth Grove. I reckon Croydon, though.
Again, with the amateur league, it's a bit hard to predict where they haven't started their league competition yet, so there's no form. I think the gulf's too big from NPL down to the amateur league, so I'll go for a Croydon win as well. But it wouldn't surprise me if Grove could take it into extra time. But see, fitness will be a difference as well in these kind of games, because the amateurs, they'll have been training for a while, but they won't have they won't have much in the way of competitive match fitness under the belt. Whereas the NPL sides are already 3 rounds in. So I'll back Croydon, but it wouldn't surprise me if it goes to extra time, especially if Grove choose to do something like part of the bus.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you there, David. I think with Elizabeth Grove, they're being the amateur side, they will tough it out. But for me, Croydon haven't created a lot of chances. Like, I watched the game against Campbelltown when they were up against 10 men, and they still struggled to create meaningful chances, and the goal came from an unfortunate goalkeeper error. So for me, I could see this going either way. I think Croydon should have enough. As long as they've got some of their players back. I know they're still coming back, having players come back from injury. But I could see the Grove pushing them to possibly 120 minutes. But I think overall Croydon should get the win.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Croydon as well. I just had a look at Elizabeth Grove's previous result in the Cup, and they took Sacred Heart's collegiate team to extra time. It was a super sub. Michael Lewis came on in the 60th minute, scored just before the end of the game in the 91st minute, and then scored the winner in extra time. So, well, if he starts, maybe they'll have a bit of a different change of expectations, but I'm going to give it to Croydon. They seem too strong to me.
Yeah, I know Croydon's ground is not right next to the highway, but Elizabeth Groves is right next to a school and a train line and a shopping centre, and all within quite a close proximity.
And
so
open
experience. Yes, completely open. Yeah, very interesting. Just quickly before we move on to our next cup game, just going back to our predictions, as we said, Adelaide Blue Eagles versus Playford happening as we speak. Adelaide Blue Eagles 1-0 up against Playford. By the time you're listening to this, you already know what the score is, but just for in real time of recording.
And who did we all back in that?
I said Playford.
I went the home side, and did Dante score or De Silva?
I'll have
It
a
looked
look
like
now, but
still operating. Yeah.
I went for the home team as well.
Back to the Australia Cup predictions. Adelaide Croatia Raiders versus Adelaide Blue Eagles, who, as we just said, are playing right now as we record, and a 1-0 up. Again, a short turnaround as well for a State League 1 side, and at the Croatian Sports Centre, I'll go for Raiders.
Yeah, I'm going to go Raiders. Purely short turnaround time. Raiders at home. Blue Eagles obviously playing tonight as we record, so that short turnaround time could affect them. So I'll stick with Raiders.
Yeah, Adelaide Raiders for me too. Yeah, they on their game, I think they're a good enough side to beat. It's well, probably on their day, they're probably a good enough side to beat anybody. Well, most sides up to NPL level. So yeah, Croatia Raiders for me.
Yeah, hopefully we see some more of those additions that missed out last weekend. They've had the week to get their fitness back again, and hopefully they feature this time in the Cup. But Adelaide Blue Eagles, they're getting such a commanding lead in the State League One, and they were one of the main contenders to play against Raiders last season. They're causing a few troubles, so I'm gonna go with a extra time and Croatia to win because it's at home.
A repeat of round 1 in the NPL, Adelaide City versus South Adelaide. But Mark, you spoke about how you thought first round it'd be a lot different if they had JJ, and now they do have JJ in the Cup. What?
Yeah, I'm going for a cup.
Would you say a similar prediction as you would have in the first round?
Yeah, I'm going to go with the cup set. They come off a great win against FK Big Red last week. JJ's back. And like I said, all of a sudden they learn how to defend and score all in the same week. No disrespect to any of the South boys, but it just seemed to click. They defended stronger. And I don't know if that had something to do with Rob Parker coming back into the lineup, their captain, but he just seemed to marshal them well. He seemed to be able to throw himself in front of things and just sort of led by example for them. So I think with him back, JJ up top again, and to be honest, I think JJ could probably outmuscle both the centre halves at Adelaide City. We all know that he's a strong player, and I don't know how the two centre halves will cope with that. But it'll be great to see. But I'll go with the cups. What would be seen as a cup set in this one.
I'm going to go with Adelaide City to bounce back from the disappointment they would have experienced after their Comets game last weekend. I appreciate what you're saying, Mark, about South Adelaide hitting a little bit of form, but I guess the form's only been over one match, over 90 minutes, and for me, I haven't seen South Adelaide this season yet, so it's difficult to make a judgment from that perspective, but I'm going to go with Adelaide City just based on the fact that I think they'll bounce back from the Comets game and come away with the goods in the Cup.
Yeah, I think the same's going to happen. Grass pitch, Adelaide City at home. I think they're going to be too strong, and it's going to be a commanding win for them.
Sturt Lions versus Fulham United, another all-state League One clash. I guess, your past and future, Alessio, in these two clubs. I'll probably go for Fulham, though.
I'm going to go for Fulham as well. I think it's on I thought it was going to be. If it was at the former home ground of Sturt Lions, I might have given it a bit of a difference. But you never know what can happen. I think they drew in pre-season, and that was one of the only draws that Fulham had in their pre-season so far. But judging by the previous results of Sturt and the way Mark saw them the other night, I think it's going to be maybe a bridge too far for them. And I think Fulham are going to get the result in 90 minutes.
I'm going to go Fulham based on what I saw the other night. I said I think Sturt just struggled. Unless Brian's back, that does change. Brian Ellerwatt, that does change the way they play. But I haven't seen him play in the Sturt lineup yet. But look, I think Fulham, good sides. So I'll go with Fulham.
I would ordinarily have gone for Fulham, I think, but I think Sturt will do it for Stevie Maxwell. There you go, and he's in our thoughts, all of us, at this point in time. So go Sturt, go and win it for Maxi.
Cove FC versus Pontian Eagles, the final game on the Saturday, an all-state League 2 affair once again. I'll go for Cove.
I'm sticking with Cove at home. Keep it short and sweet.
This is a tough one for me to call, I reckon. Those are two teams. Obviously, Cove had the best start of any of the State League 2 teams, but I think Pontian on a grass pitch is a whole different ball game. Obviously, they didn't show it last week at Gawler. I think this one, it could possibly go into extra time. I think one of the only downfalls I would have thought from that Cove team is their defence, and if they're going to come up against a team with such pace like Pontian, that might create them a few more issues than what they've faced so far, Cove. So I'm going to go extra time. And I think I'm going to give it to Pontian, honestly. I think their bench is a bit stronger than Cove's at the moment. We're just getting some players back from injury. And I'm going to give it to Pontian extra time.
I'm going to go for Cove. I don't think there's anything wrong with their defence. I think they've only conceded once or maybe twice in the league, and I don't think they've lost a game yet. So I'm going to go with Cove. Bang.
Hey, Seb, sorry, I didn't hear who you were going with for Adelaide City and South Adelaide. Who did you end up picking then?
South.
Are you going South as well?
Yeah.
Oh,
I think I said that. I think I said that first round too. Actually, to be honest, I think
yeah.
from memory, I could be wrong.
Do you write any of these down, Seb? Because I generally forget what I've picked about 4 minutes after I've said it.
Absolutely not. No.
Okay.
No, we have to go back to the podcast.
Yeah.
We have to listen to this drivel all over again to hear it.
On to the Sunday, 1 Australia Cup game and 3 WSL games, starting with Modbury Jets versus Croydon. I'll have to go Modbury Jets here. I don't know what the situation is at Croydon, but they've had really, really bad results in their first couple preseason games. Results over 20-0 losses to other WSL side. I hope it gets better for them because those aren't scorelines that you really want to see in any level of football. But I'd have to go Modbury Jets.
I'll keep it short and simple. Modbury Jets as well for me.
Yeah, I've seen a couple of those results, Seb, so I'm right there with you on that, Modbury Jets.
Yeah, I don't think they've been upset in this one. I'll go for Modbury Jets as well.
Other game in the WSL, Adelaide Jaguars versus preseason cup finalist Campbelltown City. I'll go for Campbelltown as the away winners.
Yeah, I'm going to go to Campbelltown. I've heard they've picked up some good players. They've got Scalzi at the helm this year, so I think they're going to be too strong for Jaguars.
Round 1, hard to predict, no form. I'll go for Jaguars. Is that what you
I'll
guys
go for
picked?
Campbelltown.
We've all gone for Campbelltown.
Have you? I'll go for Jaguars. Who knows if that's an upset?
And final game for the WSL in this round, Western Strikers versus South Adelaide. I reckon I'll go for South Adelaide. We always tend to be near about the top of the WSL, just unable to get that final step and be promoted.
Is
Yeah, I'm
South
gonna
Adelaide near Ben Dale is? Is that where Ben
Yep.
Dale is? Yep.
It is. Yeah.
I'll back South Adelaide just based on that.
I'd love to hear that too. I actually was out there with their squad the other week. I was taking the goalkeepers for a session, so it was good to see what they're doing. And he's built a really good. He got some real good camaraderie around the players and really good atmosphere there. So I'll go with South Adelaide. And as you said, Seb, they're always almost there. So hopefully this is a year they'll be able to get that final step. But it's going to be tough. It's not going to be easy this year with the likes of Modbury Jets and Campbelltown.
South Adelaide as well. Keep it simple.
And final game for the weekend in the Australia Cup, the only game for the Sunday, Amateur versus MPL, Para Hills East versus FK Beograd at Para Hills East. I'll go for the upset and go for Para Hills East.
So Para Hills East are they're Sunday Premier League, yeah?
Sunday Div 1.
Sunday Division 1, yeah. So, and this game's at FK Beograd, is it?
At Para Hills East.
Ladywood Reserve at this stage.
Oh,
that
so
may
that's-
change
That's
because
yeah,
they
that's
did
yeah.
they did change their venue twice, I think, in the first round, didn't they?
Yeah, they were going to play at Cockburn Green, and then I think it changed to Ladywood, which is the home of Modbury Jets, but not the MPL amateur Modbury Jets, the different Modbury Jets.
Yeah, because there's
Very
two
confusing.
Modbury Jets. Yeah,
It's
there's two
rather
Modbury Jets.
confusing.
Yeah.
I might follow your lead, Seb. I might go for an upset as well. Again, it's hard to pick when there's no form for the amateurs. And again, you're reminded that they're coming into these first competitive games, playing sides that have been playing for 3 or 4 weeks already. But it's the Cup, Para Hills Knights, so play their physical game, the physical hard Northern Suburbs game, and maybe that might rattle Beograd a little bit. So I'm going to go for a cup set. I love that word, Mark. You're the man. I'm going to go for a cup set, and I'm going to say that that'll be a Para Hills East win.
I love that even you know the dark arts of the North, David.
I'm going to stick with it and say it's a cup set. I think it's going to go to extra time, and I'm going to predict quite a few cards in this one. I think there's a bit of tension that would happen when it's a team like FK Beograd coming up against some of these players in that Para Hills East team. I think there's a few that I know. Zach Gomez, who played at Sturt last season. You got Nathan Petit, who came from Salisbury. Jordan Garcia, who's been about at a few clubs that I knew. I think he's the same age as me as well. He was quite good when we were coming up in the youth age groups. And then we obviously got their star man, Nick Bernardi, who's scoring the goals for them and probably one of the better players in that competition.
Jeez, right, 3 cup sets. I'm going to go with FK Beergrad and Shearer to score a brace. I think he's going to. I think he's going to start this week, being the cup. I think he'll start, and I think he'll get 2.
Well, then, that's all games reviewed and previewed that we've gone through for this past week and the weekend coming. Of course, fixtures a little bit mixed about due to the heat wave and the cup round, but we can't wait. Any games that we'll be heading to this weekend that you know of, lads?
I may head to the Seaford game tomorrow night against Modbury. Just a bit of a useless fact. Last time, I think it was the last time those two played against each other in the cup, was actually my last year at Seaford before in SL1, and we took them to penalties and lost 5-4 on penalties.
So it was your fault, basically. Is that
No,
what you're...
I say that I didn't get to take a penalty that day. Otherwise, I would have scored one. But funny enough, one of our imports unfortunately hit the post and missed. But that's going back. I think it was 2007, 2018. I think somewhere around there, 2019 maybe. But yeah, so Seaford took Modbury all the way to extra time penalties in that game. So I might head to that one on Thursday night. So
I think I'll probably head along the road to Woodside to watch the Hawks and Eastern United, and probably try and take in a cup game at the weekend. I just don't know which one, because I'm not sure which day I'll have free, although I think there's only one on the Sunday anyway, isn't there? And
yeah.
Who knows, maybe I'll get along and watch a women's game as well. Maybe go along and watch Starting Comets, was it? At Carinia on Friday. Actually, can I just make a little bit of a promo about the women's game, and just a remark on how quickly the Matildas game has sold out. I missed out on tickets, unfortunately, but I mean, that game has sold out in an hour. I think it's 60,000 tickets have all gone, sort of thing. So I'll have a bit of a whinge, and I'll say I hope that a good percentage of those people go along and check out, a women's A-League game. Maybe even this weekend, Adelaide United are playing Brisbane at Marden Sports Complex on Saturday afternoon at 2 p.m. So if you're willing to go and see the Matildas, why not get yourself along to Marden and watch some of the local girls as well? Just a bit angry about that.
Yeah, I think I was going to maybe see, depends how our game goes, if I'm staying in the city or coming back home a bit early, but I was going to maybe watch the versus Fulham game if I think it starts a bit later than ours, so I might be able to get there by the time that one is just about started. So.
Well, that's pretty much everything for us from this week. All games gone through. Thank you all for joining me once again this week. I look forward to seeing your lovely faces and voices again next week as well.
thanks for having us, Seb.
Cheers for another week.
Thanks, Seb. I love your work.